Jana Eubank with JanaEubank.com. I'm here today to share with you a process video using the Noel Mignon November 2015 Golden Delicious Classic Kit. I've printed off several photos that I thought would look good with the warm colors of this kit, and I'm just kind of flipping through the papers here and deciding which photos and which papers are going to call my name first. So I decide to go with this Echo Park paper barnwood background and these photos of my daughter. I flip through the rest of the papers and just pick out a few that I think go well with the colors of the banner pieces and the floral images on the barnwood paper. The photos of my daughter at we took these pictures at an outdoor shopping mall here in Utah called Gardner Village. It's a bunch of little pioneer homes that they've made into shops and kind of gathered together in a village. It's a really fun place. They decorate it super cute for Halloween and Christmas, and we love to go out there and browse through the shops and look at all the sights. I'm sanding the edges of my photos. I tend to do this a lot because I like the little bit of white that it gives. It helps the photos to pop off the rest of the page. I like to do that. I map my photos too, usually with cardstock, but I like to sand them too. The sanding usually only works with photos that you print on your home photo printer. I find that it doesn't work very well with photos that you outsource. It kind of leaves a purplish hue. I'm flipping through the papers that I have set aside and kind of deciding which ones I want to put behind my main photo and start building up some, behind the photos and start building up some layers. I first decide on this striped paper and I cut a 2-inch strip of it. I like the way that it ties all the colors together and the banner elements and the floral elements. But I decide that that strip is just a little too wide. So I go back and find this lime green paper and I cut the striped paper down to 1 inch and layer it on top. And I really like the way that looks. I tend to put a horizontal band on my pages a lot to ground the photos. I like the way that it looks. I'm deciding to mat my background with some colors, so I trim off a little bit of the edge and I decide to put it on this orange cardstock. Before I adhere it down, I like to cut out the middle of the cardstock so I can use it later to mat photos. I know a lot of people don't ink their edges anymore. I feel kind of like, oh, I think I'm the only one that does that, but I really like the way it looks. So I usually use a brown, like a dark brown or a light brown, and I also like to use gray. And I just use a regular ink pad. Here I am using the Memento Dark Cocoa, and then I just use a makeup sponge. You can pick them up at the dollar store, and I just dip it in the ink and I just rub it along the edges. It works really good. So I want my main photo to jump off a little bit more, and so I decide to mat it on some orange cardstock. My most favorite tool to use to mat photos are the Perfect Layers rulers by Perfect Paper Crafting. Love these things. I couldn't live without them. They have a little lip on the edge underneath, and each side has a different width. So you just bump the ruler up against your photos and use an X-Acto knife to trim along the edge, and it gets the mat perfect every time. I love it. I'm trying some different papers and things behind the photos now. I want to build another layer. I decided to go ahead and adhere the striped paper to the green paper because as I'm tucking things behind the photos to see what I want to do next, they're moving all around and it's just bothering me. So I love the plaid paper, and I decided to go with the plaid paper. So I use my ruler to just kind of measure out approximately how big I want to cut that size, cut it down to, and I go ahead and trim it and ink it up. I tuck it behind the photos, but I decide that it's too big. So I think, okay, maybe I need a smaller piece. Why don't I try the 6x6 papers that were included in the daily diary kit? So I pull out a few of those and I decide to try some of those. I get distracted in the meantime. I also find the lace trim, so I think, oh, maybe I want that to go underneath the paper strip at the bottom. And I cut a piece of it, but I don't like it, so I set it aside and get back to picking out the 6x6 papers. I choose this one that has some orange triangles on it. I decide I don't like the square shape, so I think, okay, I'm going to get out my circle tools and cut this in a circle. And while I'm at it, I go ahead and cut the plaid one in a circle too, thinking if I don't like the small circle, I'll try the large circle, or maybe I'll layer them together. I don't know. I'm just kind of playing right here. I like that the banners are in the upper left of the page and the floral elements are in the lower right. And I'm kind of thinking, well, I'll create a downward diagonal movement on this page, and maybe the circles layered behind the photos will help with that. I didn't like it. Sorry, my phone cut out when I was filming, and I just decided to use one circle. I used this plaid circle, the larger one. I went ahead and stitched around it with my sewing machine off camera, and I actually ended up adding one of the October afternoon border stickers to the bottom of the striped paper on the border strip, and I stitched around the striped paper too. I decide that I want to put the lace around the circle. So I'm putting some red line tape all around the edges on the back. And I skipped ahead, and now I'm just putting the lace around and kind of ruffling it as I go and sticking it to the red line tape that's on the back. I try to make use of that piece that I cut earlier, and now I'm just using the rest of the package to go around the rest of the circle. I actually shouldn't have used that much lace because I end up doing something different in a minute and I kind of waste it, but that's okay. It was a learning thing. It was just part of the process. I get the circle in place, and then I put the border strip in place. I have this grid ruler by Imaginess. I think they make them in this. You can find them in the sewing section at craft stores too. And I really like to use it to get things straight on my page. So this is why I shouldn't have put the lace all the way around that circle, because I end up chopping away at it so that the border strip will lay flat on the page. And then I start putting my photos on. And I end up chopping away at the lace even more because I don't like that my photos aren't laying flat. So I really should have just put that lace across the top and the bottom, I guess is what I'm saying. While I was off camera doing the sewing, I also decided to put that thankful chipboard piece along the bottom of the photos as my title. And then I added the floral piece to the right photo, and then a Hello Fall die cut piece to the top of the left photo. And then I tuck in one of the October afternoon label stickers to use as my journaling spot. So now I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the downward diagonal feel that it's kind of getting. This circle kind of draws your eye from the banner pieces around the photos down to the floral printed pattern on the bottom of the background paper. And I decide to sprinkle in a few of the chipboard buttons, kind of to layer over the flowers a little bit and the border strip to kind of just connect everything together. So I tie them with some crochet twine and stick those on. I really love how that looks, so I think, okay, well maybe I'll sprinkle in a few of the sequins from the kit. So I go ahead and stick a few of those on. But I end up not liking it. I don't like the way the shiny sequins look with the rustic barnwood paper, so I pull them back off and I decided to leave them off. But I still felt like the page needed something. So I grabbed a craft paper scrap from my stash and some photo corner punch. And I decided I think that I want to put some photo corners around the page. I try a few sizes and I ultimately decide to go with the smaller ones. So I ink those up, run them through my little Xyron X off camera in a minute, and I stick them on there. At this point, I'm super happy with the page. I'm feeling like it's done. So I go ahead and pencil in my journaling, make sure what I want to say is going to fit on the label. Then I erase it and I write it in with my pen. Later, you'll see in my still shots that I added a chipboard bird next to the Hello Fall die cut. I just thought it felt a little lonely. But that's it. I called my page good and I loved how it came together. This is my first page using the Noel Mignon November 2015 Golden Delicious kit. Thanks for watching.